AEW blasts another home run completely out of the park, or in this case, the pitch. All in 2026 from Wembley Stadium was absolutely terrific. It is in the books. Welcome to your review of AEW All in London 2026. Very little to complain about this show. This was unbelievably good, especially with a very, very strong finish. And if my math is correct, 7, count 'em, title changes. Holy shit, the TBS, the TNT, the Women's World, the Men's World, the Trios, the Women's Tags, and something else. 7 total title changes tonight. We go pay-per-views and we don't get any, and we got 7. At one point, there was a string of 4 straight title matches in a row when you count the buy-in that bled over into the main card. It was crazy. So I thought tonight's show was fantastic, or today's show. The pre-show for me here in California started at 8 o'clock in the morning. So in terms of the buy-in, I only saw 2 matches. I just saw the TBS title match and the Trios match. I caught the very end of the Costco guys and Hurt Syndicate match, and I missed the first 2. So that's where I didn't even bother to go back and look at the first 2 matches on the buy-in. I don't care. I saw what I needed to see, and I saw all of the main card, and I had to catch up on a little bit here. That's why I waited about an hour and a half to come up here and do the review, because I had to update the thumbnail, and I had to get something to eat, and it's still middle of the afternoon for me, not even 4 o'clock p.m. here on the West Coast, so I just needed a little bit of a break in between to get my ducks in a row so we can come up here and review this show. I want all of your grades in the chat, your letter grades, your number grades, A, B, C, or D, 1 through 10. Let me know what you think. I think most people, based on the online feedback that I've seen, are giving the show a pretty solid grade, and I'm certainly going to give it 1 too. There's one thing about AEW that I don't really think can be argued, and that is they have never once even come close to struggling with their identity. They have always known exactly who they are and exactly how they do things. And tonight was a really, really good example of AEW's style of wrestling. And I think that's really important when you're having competing companies, especially here in North America, that you don't have 2 companies doing the exact same thing. And when you look back to the times during competition, back in the Monday Night Wars specifically, when it was its hottest was when both companies did have different feels to it. They did different things. They did shit different ways. And when they're not trying to mimic each other or steal each other's ideas or whatever, AEW really, really hammers home this style of wrestling. Very, very intense style of wrestling, long matches, violent matches, brutal matches. Why is my desk vibrating? My phone's not ringing. I don't know what's going on there. But, when you look at specifically the main event, Kenny Omega and Will Ospreay, but also Darby Allin and Kevin Knight, and even Mercedes Moné and Willow Nightingale, these are matches you just don't see in WWE. See them a little bit in New Japan. You get some of that in Mexico, but in terms of your big 2 here in the States, as a fan, I appreciate getting different stuff from their respective pay-per-views and PLEs, because if they're both doing the same thing, it's no fun. And also tonight we saw the big jump. We knew we were going to see Kofi and Austin Creed debut. They did. They will be known as the New Level. New Level. New Level. So they kind of picked a name that you could kind of do the New Day chant with. And we're going to be talking all about that. So just trying to take it in, still trying to absorb everything, still trying to process everything. But in terms of the show, when you talk about pay-per-views that you have to pay for, pay-per-view, I have HBO Max, so I only laid down $40 for this. A lot of other people laid down $50, but it was worth every goddamn penny. It really was. And because of, I guess, over in London, they've got curfews on some of these arenas and stuff. They did have to be done within 4 hours. They went slightly over that. I think they went 4 hours and 15 minutes, but not that far over. So they, even though it was a curfew, it looks like they gave them a little bit of leeway there. And the show didn't go obscenely long or anything like that, which I think was good. I think the only thing that maybe I wish we would have gotten at the end is a little bit more in-ring celebration time from Will Ospreay. You could definitely tell they were running short on time. They hit the the trademark thing at the bottom, and they signed off while Will was still climbing the ropes. I even saw Paul Turner yelling at Ospreay to get up on the ropes and fucking pose with the belt, because they're going off air. So it is good, I suppose, when you find yourself in a place that does have a curfew, or you do have to be finished at a certain time. At least that stops them from running 6-hour shows up our asses. But I've always said, because I'm on the West Coast, long shows don't bother me, because by the time it's over, it's still early for me. It's the other people that have to worry about the lateness and stuff. I don't care. But tonight, another great example of AEW and how well they do pay-per-views and how well they do wrestling. God, there was so much wrestling tonight. And match after match, just banger, 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 no bullshit, no commercials, no nonsense in between, just wall-to-wall wrestling. And not every match was a home run. Like, looking at my results here just casually, the gauntlet match wasn't for me, to be honest. Didn't really care about Moxley and Nigel. But other than that, everything was solid on the show. Everything. Even the women's tag title match, I really enjoyed that. So I think if I'm looking at this, the weakest matches for me would be Casino Gauntlet and Moxley and Nigel. And those matches weren't bad. They weren't bad. It's just, the Gauntlet was weird because all of the entrants were at random intervals. So, sometimes you would have somebody coming out for their entrance and then somebody coming out right behind them to attack them. And then other times you'd go 3 or 4 minutes before somebody came out. I didn't really love the way it was set up, and thought there was a way you could probably simplify that in the future. And of course, Mox and Nigel, just, slightly underwhelming. That's all. But other than that, those are the only weak parts of the show, and I wouldn't even really consider them weak. Just the weakest for me. So overall, I'm giving the show an A+. A fucking plus. And it was all about Will Ospreay tonight. I really wasn't doubting too much that he was going to win the title, although there was a lot of talk and a lot of fans. There was a big fan base that was rooting for Kenny. And, another portion of the audience that maybe isn't ready to see Will Ospreay as world champion. But I think we could all see this on the horizon. Even prior to Ospreay's injury, this All In London show was kind of on our radar as the night that he's going to be crowned. And it was the big motivation for him to get ready, get back, get healthy, so he can be ready to rock for whatever angle and program he's going to, face on this show and hopefully win the world title. So I'm happy that he was able to see all of that through. I think one of my favorite parts of the whole show is what you're seeing right here. Will Ospreay had an absolutely fantastic entrance. First of all, he had a video package set to The Who, Baba O'Reilly. I still think the song should be called Teenage Wasteland, but it's not. And they had it set to that. And his mom, we put over his mom in the predictions, or whenever the hell we talked about that. Yeah, in the predictions. And had his mom doing the narration. She was doing the voiceover of the video package set to The Who. Classic British rock band. I mean, that's boyhood dream shit right there for Will Ospreay. And when that was over and you could see him making his way through the back to come out to the ring, passing all of his rivals, first person he passes is Ricochet. That's how I discovered Will Ospreay, was that Will Ospreay and Ricochet match from 10 years ago. And it was people commenting on my YouTube videos, Greg, you got to check out this bonkers-ass match. And at the time, I had heard of Ricochet, heard of Will Ospreay, hadn't seen a whole lot of them, though. And that was my first real introduction, really to both of those guys, but Will Ospreay specifically, was that match he had with Ricochet. So when he saw Ricochet first, shout out to Ricochet and Samantha, by the way, love y'all. When he walked past him, that being the first person he saw was pretty cool. After that, I think it was Swerve Strickland. Then who'd he come across? Is United Empire homies, right? Current ones. Then he gives his wife, Alex Windsor, a kiss, who's there waiting for him. He at one point passes Kyle Fletcher and Mark Davis as well. They give him a little nod. And I think the last person he comes into contact with is Jon Moxley, who was there waiting with the flag and handed it to him and basically go get him. He basically got a pat on the ass and a go get him from all of his friends and his family and his rivals. And it was really special feeling. And like when you're seeing him go through that, especially the kiss with Alex, I mean, there's your spoiler right there. That's your spoiler right there. If there was any doubt, if Will Ospreay is going to beat Kenny Omega for the AEW World title tonight, to me, that was answered when he planted one on his wife, Alex Windsor. I mean, this was all about Will. This was his night. This whole night was centered around him winning the title, and I feel like that's been in the plans for months, for a year, or maybe even more. Because when Ospreay got hurt, what was the first thought on all of our minds? Is he going to be back in time for London next year, Wembley? And he did. Or he was, and he is. And now Will Ospreay is world champion. Phenomenal main event. We will get to it. We'll be talking about it later on. But those are some of the highlights there. Of course, we're about to talk about Kofi and Creed making their debut in just a minute. Tony Khan flexing his tag team division muscles at the end of the Bucks and Cope and Cage. I thought that was really good. Willow and Mercedes. We'll talk about the finish and how we all feel about Mercedes Moné winning the title. And I'm really curious if the hand affected the outcome. Was Willow set to win before the hand injury? But even that was really, that match was so good. And I think it just added to their rivalry and added to their story to where they are going to be, they're going to have that lifelong rivalry connection to where as long as they're in the same company, you can put those two women on screen together anytime between now and the next 10 years, and it's going to be magic because they have that between them. And this just added to their already loaded history that's probably only going to increase. I mean, I'd love to see Willow eventually come back and take the title from Mercedes and, see them battle through the ranks like that. And the blood in that match was great. I mean, the Darby Allin blood was fucking nuts. Darby, of course, Darbying out in this night. So we had some blood. We had the Darby blood, which, by the way, I'll talk about this later. He bladed his own head. Go back and watch the replay. He literally bladed the back of his own head. Who does that? And then we had the incidental or accidental blood, I think, in the Mercedes Moné and Willow Nightingale matches. Mercedes busted her nose. If anybody's got an injury report on her or has heard anything about her honker, she had some big nails. She might have just cut the bridge of her nose, but it did look like a bloody, it could be a broken nose. So hopefully she doesn't have a broken nose and she doesn't have a concussion because Willow already has a broken hand. And other than that, the main event, like I said, really, really delivered. And in terms of the level of the violence we saw tonight, I almost feel like you have to cancel Darby Allin out. You can't really count his shit because he's crazy. If you count everything else other than that, I wasn't offended at all by the level of blood we saw, especially being that some of it was accidental. I didn't think this show was overly violent in any way. We didn't see any crazy spots, no syringes through cheeks, no barbed wire wrapping around the cock and balls of anybody. It was relatively the norm for AEW. Sure, we had some table bumps and some chair shots and some juice and some color and whatnot, but it wasn't like over the top. Nobody had skewers, shout out to you, Sky Blue, sticking out of their head tonight on All In. Just a wonderful, wonderful morning and early afternoon of wrestling as the main card started for me at 10 o'clock in the damn morning. But I was up by 9 to watch the second hour of the pre-show, and that is what we need to start off with here in just a minute. Before we do that, let's say hi to the chat, see what you guys are saying about this show, and then we're going to kick things off with the buy-in, and I'm going to go through those matches there. I'm just going to kind of skip over the first two. We'll talk about the Hurt Syndicate. We'll talk about Maya World in a minute, and as well as a Tekla appearance on the pre-show. Can't wait to get into this card, but I do need to say some quick shout-outs. I might not do all these super chats. I can probably knock these out, and then the rest of them we will get to later. Happy Sunday afternoon. I apologize that we are not here for a classic watch-along tonight, but it is All In Sunday, and we got business to take care of. By the way, we are going to be here tomorrow as well after Monday Night Raw because we have other stuff to catch up on. I didn't pay WWE any mind today. They ran 2 back-to-back shows. They ran NXT and AAA. One of them might still be ongoing. I have no idea. I think somebody put in the chat that Grayson Waller won the NXT title. Good for him. Anything in WWE land, we're going to catch up on that tomorrow. I literally paid them no mind today. I didn't even know they were running shows head-to-head with All In. Didn't even know that until like last night. So I don't give a fuck what they did. We will talk about them tomorrow. Plus, there is some wrestling news that we should probably catch up on as well, since we weren't here for a podcast yesterday, and I apologize for that. I was just busy all day. So we will be here tomorrow after Raw to catch up on WWE land and the WWE side of things and any wrestling news that is ongoing. We will discuss that tomorrow night after Monday Night Raw. But tonight, Today is all about AEW All In. Good to see Paul Carpenter, Garrett Osborne, Northern DC in the house, Mike Rouse, Zane G, Melissa Hernandez. Good to see Afro Money, Joshua Aparicio in the house. 10 out of 10 is your grade. Nice. Ryan Adams, thanks for the $5, bro. Great day of wrestling between AEW, AAA, and NXT. 11 title changes over 3 promotions. That is crazy, and apparently 3 of them are world championships. WWE fan, welcome up in here to the family. Good to see Zane G. Always happy to see you. Jesus Christ, Highway to Hell was 28 years ago today. Damn, I was just a kid. I was just a dumbass kid back then. Mike Witt, good to see you. Great show and an even better main event. I agree. What's up? We Are Pro Wrestling. Good to see you here today. Sorry not doing a watch along, but I didn't think we really had time to do one today. Too much going on, but good things are coming. Don't you worry. Mike Witt, thank you for that $10, my friend. If Mox is ever going to pass the torch, is Mox going to ever pass the torch to a younger star? He's not 70. What the fuck are you talking about? Him and the Death Rider story is so boring, tired, and play out. Hopefully Takeshita or Fletcher beat him finally. Hi, Greg and Tito. Tito says hi. Actually, I don't know where Tito is. He is under the bed. I would love for Takeshita or Fletcher to beat Moxley. I don't have any problem with Moxley's win tonight because I didn't want Nigel to beat him. But Moxley's one of those guys, you know, so he's a love him or hate him type guy. I don't really love him or hate him. He's not my favorite, and I certainly don't hate him. And I think he's a really excellent, you know, cornerstone piece of AEW and their entire history. But, you know, the Death Rider stuff is going long, but this is the Continental Cup shit. You know, it's not like he's dominating the main events right now, you know, but he's probably going to be back there because him and Ospreay are going to have a match at some point. So I don't know. I don't think it's really necessarily about passing the torch. I don't think he's I don't think he's at the stage of his career where he needs to be passing a torch. Because if that's the case, then you can say that about anybody who's his age. We should be talking about Jericho passing torches before we talk about Moxley passing any torches. I think he's Roman and Rollins aren't passing torches yet. Why is Mox? You know? We've got Joe Brill. Good to see Jim K. 5 more from Mike. Not saying Mox should have lost, but he should have lost the title a long time ago. Yeah, he's held on to that title for a while. He has. But then again, there are 48 titles in AEW. I don't really give a shit if one guy holds one for a long time. There's 48 titles. So many titles. There needs to be less. I think I would have more of an issue with Mox if, you know, the Death Riders were still dominating the main event scene, and instead of the Continental title, Mox is running around there with the world title. Speaking of that world title, it was great to see MJF not have the Triple B tonight. Glad he didn't come out with that. Gilbert, I think I got you. Good to see William Cullen. Good to see Damian Drain. Good to see Colin. We've got Stone Cold and Trey and Shellshock and David. Phoenix Reborn. Good to see it as well. We've got Mr. Ultra Saber. Ryan Adams, I think I got you. Wrestling Pope. Grump Waffle. Good to see Grump Waffle. Randall Yates in the house. Stephen Harris. Good to see you. And we've got Michael Cuomo and Nikita Abalakin. Thank you for the super chat, my friend. Atmosphere in Wembley was amazing. Is it normal that I barely remember any matches, except for a couple of spots? So you were there. You were there, huh, in Wembley? No, it's hard to really remember all of it when you're there in the moment at a show having a good time, you know, where I'm sitting down at home literally typing out the finishes to these matches in my notes. So no, all that matters when you go to a show, especially one that big and you're in the audience for it, is that you have a good time. That's it. And if you did, success. All right. And let's just knock out these last 2 and then we'll get into the results. Good to see Aaron World Order in here as well. Power Spin Games has got $2 for us. Just returned home from Wembley about 10 minutes ago. Good. I'm glad I waited to do this review. That way, those of you who were at Wembley in London for the show had time to get home. So welcome to all of our listeners over there in the UK. Watching tonight, and some of you who might have been at the show. Afro Money, appreciate that $5, bro. Is it a coincidence that Big Boom AJ and Big Justice were a part of the amazing AEW pay-per-view cards? They should just put the world title on Big Boom. Why not put the world title on Big Chicken Bake Boom guy or whatever the fuck? Man, Bobby Lashley's run in AEW has been weird, hasn't it? All right, let's talk about stuff. We got to talk about the buy-in first. We're going to do the buy-in. The first 2 matches, though, I did not watch. Still have not gone back and watched them. But it was Leo Rush and the Rascals defeating the Ops, Hook, Action Andretti, and Shibata. So they won a 6-man there. After that, Harley Cameron and her buddy, Chris Statlander, defeated Julia Hart and Sky Blue. I do want to go back and look at this match because did Sky have any scars on her? She was in a really gnarly match over the weekend. There was all sorts of great weekend shit going on attached to All In, and she was in a very violent, brutal, hardcore match for Pro Wrestling Eve. I think this was Friday night or Saturday night, whenever the hell it was, against Emerson Jane. And they had like needles and hooks out, and it was so bloody, and Sky Blue got the skewer treatment in her head. She was covered in blood, looked fucking gnarly. Also, FTR picked up the Rev Pro tag team titles. Will Ospreay made an appearance at Rev Pro and even picked Thumbtacks up out of the ring the night before the biggest match of his fucking life. We had Eddie Kingston and a pretty embarrassing loss to Hechicero in CMLL, and even Adam Cole sat down to speak on Will Ospreay and the importance of Will Ospreay and Kenny Omega's main event match here at All In. So a lot of things were happening over the weekend, which looked a lot of fun. I like that they treat this kind of like their WrestleMania, and they just have shit going on everywhere. And it looked like it was a really fun weekend of wrestling over there across the pond. But in terms of the All In buy-in, like I said, I missed the first 2 matches, but I did catch the end of the Hurt Syndicate and the Costco guys, or the Costco guy. It was basically Shelton and Lashley, along with Big Boom AJ and QT Marshall, and they took on Shane Taylor Promotions and won. I haven't really been following what the hell's going on with these guys, but the little Rizzler, or he's kind of getting big now, he wasn't there. I don't know if he's got a criminal record or something and he couldn't travel. He looks like a little fucking gang member, but apparently he shelled out 50 G's to the Hurt Syndicate for them to team up and take out Shane Taylor Promotions, and they presented the Hurt Syndicate. Now, what I want to know is, how do you cash that? How do you take a check made out to the Hurt? Well, I guess if you have an LLC, if you got a company, well, I guess they probably do. MVP's got all that covered. What am I talking about? MVP can get that cashed. He absolutely can, because he's got the whole thing done. He's the manager. He's in charge of all that. So I'm sure that means that he will evenly distribute that 50 G's between Lashley and Shelton and won't hold out any of it for himself at all. But anyway, that happened. Then it got good. So we had, 4.5 matches on the buy-in. The next match was kind of an exciting one. This was we predicted this match could get added based on the finish that we saw on Dynamite with Persephone pinning Maya World. And I just assumed that would then lead to a TBS title match between Maya World and Persephone on the buy-in, because Tony Khan hinted in the media call that there was going to be another women's match added. So they added it, and we get a very surprising return. So Maya World and Persephone are in the ring. They're working. Maya goes to the top rope, and we get a hooded figure show up. At first, I thought it was Zilla Fatu. Hooded figure shows up, throws, and pushes Maya World off the top rope. And that allows Persephone to hit Maya World with the power bomb for the win. And Persephone is your new TBS champion. Everybody loves Persephone. She is awesome. I'm glad that everybody is taking notice. I feel like people are taking notice of her in the same way they did Stephanie Vaquer. And we've even heard of WWE not being too thrilled with how they're using Persephone, and they might be interested in her. Dudes, pay attention to your own shit and your own people that you suck at using before you start passing judgment. But now I'm wondering if they're okay with how they're using Persephone, because she's now the TBS champion, defeating Maya World with help from Britt Baker. So then Persephone wins. Baker then, we haven't seen her yet. She's under the hood. She comes in the ring and puts the lockjaw on Maya World. That's when you knew it was Britt. Plus, she was wearing black and yellow, Pittsburgh Steelers. She takes off the hood to reveal that it's Britt Baker. Very, very, very happy to see her back. Very weird place to bring her back. And then later on, a couple of segments later on the buy-in, they do a backstage segment with Persephone and Britt Baker. And Baker basically says that part of the reason why she's aligning with Persephone is due to common enemy. And Persephone brings up Thunder Rosa. So I guess Baker and Rosa are going to rekindle their feud from 5 years ago now? How long ago was that when they had their issue? And, you know, I think Thunder Rosa, last time I saw her in the ring, she was kind of reminding me of Hikaru Shida a little bit. Something got slower about them. I don't know what, but Britt looks great, looks in great condition, great shape. She's been posting bikini pictures all over social media to make us think that she's at the beach, when we all know she's probably going to show up because Tony Khan kind of hinted it. She's been on folks' radar. I've seen a lot of people bring up her name in the last 24 hours. So seeing her show up and return it all in is great. I'm just surprised that she's showing up here to help Persephone form an alliance with her and I guess help her battle Thunder Rosa and whoever else she's feuding with right now. So welcome back, Britt Baker. I hope it's for real this time. I feel like 2 years ago she came back and then just went away. She came back and worked with Mercedes right here at this very show. And then I forgot, was that before or after the Serena Deeb thing when she came out and we were like, nobody cares. And we haven't seen Britt Baker in 2 years? Something like that. What the fuck's going on? And I mentioned this on the podcast or on the predictions. I don't remember when. I think it was the predictions, right? I just brought this up. And I meant it in the most respectful possible way. And I don't want to sound morbid at all. But we all know and we're all seeing what Rebel is going through. Everybody's doing their ice bucket challenges and supporting her and showing her so much love. And Britt Baker has been a big part of a lot of these Rebel videos. She's been there with her, putting her makeup on, supporting her, doing the challenges with her. And of course, Baker and Rebel had the on-screen pairing back when Rebel was on TV, back when AEW started all those years ago. So Baker has been, you know, by her side. And there is going to be a time when we're going to have a Rebel tribute show. You know, just the inevitable. You know, we all know what's going to happen to her. And when that happens, you know, you would expect Britt Baker to be a part of that. And one of the things I mentioned on the predictions, I said, I would hate it if Britt Baker completely stayed off of TV until it's time to do Rebel-related tribute stuff when that fateful day comes. I don't want Britt Baker's return to overshadow any of the love and support to Rebel's memory, you know? So I had speculated that Tony Khan might want to get her back on television and back in the mix a little bit so she can be there. And it's not like a headline stealer, you know what I mean? Because imagine if we don't see Britt Baker, you know, for another several months and whenever, you know, things need to happen with Rebel and then we see her, I feel like everybody's going to be talking about, oh, now they're bringing Britt Baker back and Britt Baker, and it shouldn't be about Britt Baker. It should be about Rebel. So just, you know, just a thought, speculation. I'm like, yeah, Tony might want to get her back in the mix, get her back on TV, reestablish her in front of the fans' eyes. You know, because she's going to be a big part of everything going on with Rebel throughout her entire battle with ALS. You know, Baker's going to be there. A lot of people, I mean, I saw Killer Cross and Scarlett just do the challenge. So everybody is there for Rebel. And I'm glad that Britt is too. And now that she's back on TV, let's just hope that this run sticks. And it's not like what I'm talking about. Oh, let's just get her back on TV and then we'll figure out what to do later. You got to have some sort of a plan because she's already come back a couple of times only just to disappear again. And at this point, I don't think she needs to go to WWE. You know, it's not, you know, there was a time when I was like, oh yeah, Britt should make the jump. You know, maybe about a year ago, I was thinking, like, I hope she gets out of her AEW contract so she can go to WWE. I think they'd be pretty good marketing the Dennis thing. But now I'm just not, I'd rather just have her stay put. I just hope that they can work things out. Whatever went on in the past. I met Britt Baker. She seemed like the sweetest person in the world to me, but she has had issues with women in the locker room. And whatever those issues are, or were, I hope enough time has passed to where bringing Britt Baker back in doesn't cause or result in any more problems. I know egos are a big thing. Britt Baker was once, you know, the Charlotte of that women's division, you know, and then she just disappeared for 2 years. And now the division belongs to other women like your Toni Storms, like your Mercedes, like your Willows, and women like that. And now she's kind of outside looking in. So I don't know if, you know, egos are at play there or what, but whatever the case is, I hope that this is a successful run for Britt. I hope that this works out. Great to see her back. Missed her. I've always liked her character. I've always liked her theme song. I've put over her theme song like 5 podcasts over the last 5 years. I really like it. So I'm hoping that when she comes back, whatever she's doing here sticks. I mean, unless this is her just feels kind of obvious because it's so out of the blue that she could easily just turn on Persephone. Just turn on her. And then you've got Britt Baker versus Persephone for the TBS title. And Britt wins the TBS because I don't think Britt has won the TBS. She's been AEW World Champion maybe a couple times, and she's won the Owen. But no TBS title, I don't think, for Britt. So I feel like that could be the direction they're going in. But at the same time, Persephone is gaining a lot of momentum, a lot of popularity. I'm loving what I'm seeing from her in the ring. And I hope it's a healthy run because Maya World, we were all really happy for her too. And it was a really short run for Maya World. So maybe the TBS title is going to be hot tatered a little bit. I don't know. But for right now, it's on Persephone, and she had help from the returning Britt Baker on the buy-in, winning the TBS title. So good for her. And right before we had the big trio roulette royale with Cheese, we got an appearance from Tekla. Now, we did hear that Tekla was in town. She probably would be at All In. I would have liked to see her come out somewhere else. I mean, I was a little bit, unsure about how I felt about the Britt Baker return and the Tekla return used in the way that they did. But Tekla just showed up and crashed the buy-in panel, which was Renee Paquette, Paul White, Jeff Jarrett, and Mick Foley. That's a WWE panel if I've ever seen one. And she shows up and she stands on the table and she cuts a great little promo for the crowd. She is so exciting. It was great to see her back. It was great to hear her voice. It was great to listen to her cut a promo. I just wish that maybe she could have came out at a different part of the show, made a little bit more of an impact. But she said she was there to drink her spicy margarita because she's spicy. And the toxic spider was going to hang out and just basically watch and enjoy the show. So we got a little bit of Tekla on the show. And then it was time for the Trios Roulette Royale. They finally let us know what the rules are, what this match is going to be. All we knew from Hangman Page, based on what we saw on Dynamite, was all the Trios teams are welcome to meet us under the Wembley Arch, and we will battle it out. We didn't know until the Tony Khan media call, I don't think. Or maybe until, when did we know that? What the actual rules of the match is. And it was going to be called a Trios Roulette Royale with, 7 teams, one of them being a wild card. So once that was announced, you knew exactly what was going to happen. It was announced for the buy-in. Fans were like, what? They're going to debut the New Day of the buy-in? I'm like, no, they're not. Everybody can see this coming. Clear as day, because they've been doing it lately. The New Day, or Kofi and Creed, will debut, yes, but it's going to be one of those matches on the buy-in that's going to bleed into the main card, and that's exactly what happened. So now it's time for the Trios Roulette. This kicks off on the buy-in. And we have the Bang Bang Gang and the Dogs out there first to do battle, and this is a battle royal, by the way. So, you're eliminated by getting thrown over the top rope. So it's the Bang Bang Gang and the Dogs have got Gabe Kidd with them. So Gabe Kidd kind of has dual membership because he's also a part of the Death Riders from time to time. But on this night, he was representing the Dogs. We had the Demand out after them. Then came the conglomeration, Roderick Strong and Orange Cassidy, followed by the Death Riders. So the Death Riders, I believe it was Pac and Claudio, right? Was it Pac and Claudio and Yuta? They get in the ring, but also Marina Shafir gets in the ring. And she has a stare down with Roderick Strong. And as most of you know, they are married. And Roderick Strong actually gives her a backbreaker to a thunderous pop. That, to me, is what wrestling is all about. Coming face-to-face with your very own wife in the ring and then kicking her ass and getting a huge ovation from the crowd. Only in wrestling would that be considered wholesome family entertainment. And it sure as hell was entertaining to me. So then after that, we get Hangman Page and Brodito, the Trios Tag Team Champions, are out next. Now we got a bunch of guys in the ring, and then Orange Cassidy goes on a orange punch spree, literally hitting everybody, about 12 people with the orange punch. Everybody is down, and then the buy-in ends. And they say, all right, we're off the air now. Join us on the main card. So then you flip over, to the main card. They do a little countdown. They come back. Everybody's in the ring, and out comes Swerve Strickland. So he comes out first with Prince Nana. They're in the entranceway there, and then they kind of do the little thing, and they just wait. You know what's coming. We get a nice big little Tron video here with the words "New Level." It kind of has press start first, little video game kind of vibe to it, because we all know that's what Xavier does and is very good at. And out come Kofi and Austin Creed, looking great, dressed, very similarly to how they would if they were in WWE as the New Day. They're going to be called the New Level, and they have a tremendous new song. Now, this song is a song that Tony Khan ponied up for to pay. I didn't write it down. You guys knew it right away, told me. It was a fucking REO Speedwagon song. I'd recognize it, but I had no idea what this was. Pretty old song from ASAP Fern or something. You guys tell me. Tell me in the chat. I don't know. But one of the things I noticed about the song is I never heard it before or couldn't recognize the song, but I like the energy of it, because one thing that I've talked about in the past is I've always loved the New Day. They're going to go down as probably a top 10 favorite tag team of mine of all time. But I never really liked their theme song in WWE. It just was, it lacked energy. It was just a couple of being doom, doom, doom. I just felt like it needed some like explosiveness to it, some intensity, some energy to it. It just had a little bit too quiet of a sound. There was parts in the song where you would have like a 3-second pause of just nothing, and I felt like you needed something else there to help round out the song. Well, this theme is awesome. So shout out to... Wait, is the ASAP one of them things where the S is a dollar sign? Is it like that? Yeah, one of them guys, one of them ASAP guys. I can already envision it. Isn't there another ASAP guy that has the dollar sign thing? I'm white. Don't listen to me. I'm old and white. But I do know that I loved the theme. Had energy, sounded better, just automatic, just right off the bat felt and looked like it fit them. And I'm really happy that Tony Khan paid for a lot of music tonight. I would like to know what his royalties bill or his licensing bill was for some of the songs that he used tonight. And now New Day coming out to this, I guess permanently, is pretty awesome. They look great, like I said. And it's kind of surreal. To me, this is why having two companies is so important. It's so important to the enjoyment of pro wrestling. You have to have this. This is exactly why you need competition, is because these moments are great. I don't know where this is going to rank in the all-time ship jumping from WWE to AEW, but it's definitely going to be a memorable one. I don't think it's going to be up there with a Bryan Danielson or a Adam Cole or a Cody Rhodes or a CM Punk, but it's up there. It's probably tier number 2 there. For those guys. And we've had some great debuts. Jade Cargill had a good one. Even Ruby Soho had a good one. You look at both companies and instances where people made the jump, and this is one of the better ones, I think. Cody's was great. Punk's was great. I feel like, and Aleister Black's was great, even though he only lasted a year. Jade Cargill's may be okay, but in AEW, we've seen some great ones, especially with your Adam Coles and your Bryan Danielsons, and now with the New Level making their way to AEW. They are here, and they look great. They got in the ring, finished off the Battle Royal here. It was one of the first things that we got once everybody got in the ring was a nice little face-off with Swerve and Hangman Page, and I loved Hangman buckshot lariating Ricochet using the back of Swerve. Like they were kind of facing off at first, and then Ricochet got involved, and Swerve kind of bent over, and Hangman used his back as a springboard to buckshot lariat Ricochet into oblivion. And Ricochet would get his revenge later, as he would eliminate Hangman Page with a nice little springboard dropkick. Hangman goes down, so Hangman is out. Brody King got knocked out very early, and then Bandito was out. So we were guaranteed to have new champions shortly after Swerve and the New Level got into the ring. It comes down to the New Level, basically 2-on-2. I guess I didn't write it down, but I guess Swerve got eliminated because I believe it was the New Level. Or no, it must have been the 3 of them, because it was New Level versus Pac, Claudio, and Kid. So you had 2 Death Riders and still 1 dog in there. And by the way, we should also mention that Kofi did his save spot. He got thrown over the top rope, but landed on his back. His feet did not hit the floor. He had his feet up on the apron. And then Prince Nana came over to kind of wheelbarrow him over to the steps so he could get back in the ring. And I believe this is the first time that Kofi ever won a match where he did one of his saves, because he usually does these things in the Royal Rumble. So he brought this little spot over to AEW, gets back in the ring. Gabe Kidd gets eliminated, and then it's a double clothesline to Claudio and Pac for the win. They both go out and win. To see Kofi and Xavier in this match, I think the only guys that they've really had interactions or matches with would have been Ricochet, Pac, and Claudio, right? But that's probably it. Just those 3? Because Kofi's been in the company now since 2009, so that's before a lot of these guys' time. And Xavier, at least, or Creed, I should say, I mean, he did do some work in TNA, so he might have a little bit more knowledge of who some of these guys are than Kofi does. But a lot of new opponents in there for those guys just in this one match alone. So Swerve Strickland and the New Level come away here with the AEW Trios Tag Team titles, and this show kicked off in a great way. I mean, that was the way we all expected it to happen. Fightful Select dropped a report last night that the New Day were expected to join AEW, and I think we all knew that. And it was one of those debuts that you just knew it was going to happen, and you didn't have to say anything. And those might be some of my favorites. I feel like CM Punk was like that when he came back to AEW, and Cody was like that. It was like that with Cody too. Punk and Cody both had debuts like that, to where they didn't really have to say who it was. You knew who it was. And in the Seth Rollins match at WrestleMania 38 against that mystery opponent, we all knew it was going to be Cody. And when he came out, it was tremendous. And this is another one of those situations where it's going to be them, and it's just a matter of waiting to see them. And them coming out is a pretty cool thing to see them make that jump. So we didn't get Ilya Dragunov tonight, but I think he'll probably be the next one. And I'm still hoping that Bayley makes the jump. I think it's absolutely absurd. It's one thing if fans think this, but I think it's absurd. You got people like Meltzer and stuff kind of just coming to this conclusion that, they're mentioning Bayley on TV, therefore she must have re-signed a long-term deal. Why do you think that? WWE feels like the type of company that even if she hasn't re-signed, they would still keep mentioning her just to make fans think she's staying. I don't know. I just cannot believe so many people are drawing that very, very simple conclusion that just because Lyra said Bayley's name a couple times, she's re-signed, she might re-sign. I just don't think that that's a good enough indication that she's sticking around just because they said her name on fucking Raw. No. So I'm really hoping that Bayley as well eventually makes the jump to AEW. But if she doesn't want to, and she wants to stay in WWE because that's where she prefers to be, no problem. Stay wherever you want, Bayley. I got your back. I just think as a fan, it'll be super fun to see you over here with some of the men and women on this fucking roster. So the New Level has officially debuted, winning the Trios titles, and we wouldn't be done seeing them yet. Stay tuned for that. Up next, technically the first full match on the main card was Divine Dominion defending their AEW Women's Tag Team titles against the Brawling Birds. All 4 of these women are absolute studs. Just absolute studs. Every one of them could kick the shit out of me, I'm pretty sure. And we've been talking about Divine Dominion's dominance and how, 2 tough, tall drinks of water like that, it's going to take a really tough team to knock them off. Here you have an all-British tag team, Jamie Hayter, who's a legit fighter, Alex Windsor, who ain't no slouch either. They are really the best possible option to knock the Divine Dominion off of their perch. And this match was hard-hitting and good. I saw, there was some pictures on social media floating around of a lot of fans heading for the bathrooms and the concessions during this match, and they missed out because this one was really good and really enjoyable. And I had no idea that the Brawling Birds finisher was the heart attack. They call it 2 birds, 1 stone. I forgot who they hit it on, if it was Lena Cross or Megan Bain. But after that, just really, really hard hitting, like what I like, just the forearms. It's just the strong style, basically. It felt like a strong style match, just with a lot of just stiff shots. Everything was being laid in, everything. So at the end, to see them use the heart attack for the win, I loved, and I wasn't really that surprised by this one. Even in the predictions, we kept the prediction very short and sweet that I've got the Brawling Birds all the way in this one, and they come away with the AEW Women's Tag Team Championships in a tremendous match, a very enjoyable match. Going into the show, if I was going to, like, in my mind, predict matches that I thought I might after the show were the least exciting or least entertaining, I might think in my head that Divine Dominion and Brawling Birds would be one of them, but they weren't. It was Moxley and Nigel in the Casino Gauntlet for me. This one was excellent. Really, really enjoyed that. And congrats to Jimmy Hayter and Alex Windsor. Boy, happy day in the Ospreay household, is it not? You got a husband and wife champion pairing there, along with a mom who does video package voiceovers. Holy shit. Happy days in the Ospreay house. All right, after the women's tag team title match, it was time for the finals of the Continental Challenge Cup. This, of course, was Jon Moxley taking on Nigel McGuinness. Now, there was a lot of speculation on my end as to why they were doing this match, because during the tournament, the weird tournament that they just kind of announced, and I didn't even understand the point, until you start getting near the end of it, and you start seeing and feeling like we're going to get Nigel McGuinness and Jon Moxley in the finals, because they're doing this injury angle shit with Nigel. And a lot of this was like, oh, so about 2 matches ago, a lot of us started going, oh, light bulb, it's going to be Moxley and Nigel. Why? Why would they do Moxley and Nigel? I mean, just to get Nigel a match at Wembley, okay, but he had a match at Wembley before. Didn't he come out to Oasis? He didn't come out to Oasis tonight, I don't think. Didn't Nigel come out to Oasis a couple years ago? I forget which song. But no Oasis this time. But my speculation was somebody like Moxley, who's been pretty protected outside of a couple of losses here and there from Kyle O'Reilly and, and whatnot. For the most part, he's Moxley. He's pretty protected. How, you're gonna belt up essentially, or give this cup to a 50-year-old when you have a roster as stacked as you do? Why would you even book Nigel in this match? And I started thinking maybe it's because he's going to retire. And in that case, it made sense to me. I'm like, okay, Nigel can come out. He's got this match at Wembley, against this juggernaut, this guy, the 4-time, AEW world champion, super decorated pillar of AEW here. And you're going into this match at a disadvantage because not only is Moxley, younger than you, he's more active, he's a full-time wrestler, you're a part-time wrestler, and you've got a bum leg. So my thought was that Nigel would just fight tooth and nail, fight to the death here, claw and scrape, his way through this match, only to fall short, and then retire and get a little send-off from the audience and take his boots off if he has to. Gets that moment in Wembley. Like, if you're in your 50s and you're an active wrestler, you should start eyeing somewhere to hang it up. All right, I'm 50. I'm going to have to cash out soon. Let's start thinking about where the best place to do that would be. And I thought going in the ring against a guy like Moxley, fighting your ass off with an injury, and coming up short in front of, 45,000 people in London, in Wembley Stadium, on that holy ground like that, be a good place for him to retire. But some people had Nigel winning the match. I never did. I never had him winning the match, and I absolutely hated the scenario that was floating around from a lot of people about Moxley losing to Nigel and then showing up later to win the Casino Gauntlet. And then you'll get Ospreay and Moxley at All Out. We're going to get Moxley and Ospreay. He doesn't need to win a gauntlet to get the match with Will Ospreay. That's going to happen anyway. And winning the gauntlet would just be silly, because that would then guarantee the main event. Now, most people already felt like it was going to be Ospreay's night, But I'm sure there were still some fans in the audience, some fans at home, holding out hope or still holding on to belief that Kenny Omega is actually going to retain. That would be erased if Moxley showed up and won the gauntlet match. That would just be erased. You would know now 100% who's winning the main event. So I really rejected that whole scenario just on principle because it didn't make sense to me. And I believe that Moxley and Ospreay, there's so much story there that that match is going to come about without the need for some contract to be won, you know? So just thought that was dumb. But Moxley here, coolest spot of the match, I think, was Nigel hitting Moxley with the Brett and Bulldog finish. It was a sunset flip into a pinning combination, but Moxley kicks out of it. Eventually, Moxley tenaciously locks on the ankle lock. And Nigel, of course, you know, trying his hardest. He's so close. He's inches. He's a finger away from the ropes. Ultimately, can't make it. Taps out. And Moxley wins, grabs the little cup, leaves through the crowd with his Death Rider homies, still as your Continental Champion, and now your Continental Challenge Cup winner. Now, on the media call, Tony Khan was pretty non-committal about if this tournament is going to happen again. I don't think it needs to. We've got the Owen. We've got the Continental Classic, which is great. Owen's a little shaky. He's not as great as maybe it used to be, but the Continental Classic is still good. You don't need this cup shit. It's already confusing to me as it is. So don't run this back next year. I don't really think there's a need to or a reason to. So Moxley wins. He leaves. That leaves Nigel in the ring, and he does get the nice ovation from the audience. They did show him a lot of respect. They showed him a lot of support. I was looking for him to maybe take off his gear, but he didn't. And Nigel would actually show up later on in the show to do commentary sitting in a wheelchair. So it feels like everything is just normal with Nigel. There was no retirement here. So I got it half right, half wrong. I was right about the Moxley victory, wrong about the Nigel retirement. But I mean, at some point, you know, I mean, I guess unless Nigel just wants to keep working sporadic matches for a few more years, I suppose he could. He's still in great shape for a 50-year-old. So no retirement for Nigel McGuinness. And that's fine. He's still in the biz. And Moxley is still your Continental Champion. Hope somebody knocks him off that perch soon. Here's a match I got wrong, but yet another title change. It was the international title. Three-way. Kyle Fletcher defending against Kazuchika Okada and Konosuke Takeshita. I had Takeshita winning in this because it felt very important to the Callis family leading up to this, that the belt stays in the family. That's what they kept talking about. The belt is going to stay with the family. So to me, the better story was for the belt to leave the family, because you already have enough dissension as it is between your two fat Callis family members there, Okada and Fletcher. They've been kind of going at it and bickering a lot within the Callis family. So for Takeshita to sneak in the back door and steal it away from both of them, I thought would really add to the already existing, tension. But doing the finish they did also worked here because it keeps the belt in the family, but it's now Okada who has the belt, and you know that Fletcher's super fucking annoyed with him. You could even see it on his face here. So this was a fun match going into All In. I think in my head, I had the highest hopes for this one, and this was not a bad match. It was so fucking good. But maybe in my head, it didn't reach those, extraordinary levels of what the fuck that I thought it would. Is the best way I can put that. Certainly wasn't a bad match. Tremendous finish, too, because Fletcher's got that finisher, which I swear is going to kill someone one day, but until it does, I'm going to continue to enjoy it. That brain buster on the buckle, he hits that on Takeshita. So he hits his brainbuster finisher on Takeshita, but then Okada comes in and hits a Rainmaker to Fletcher, and Okada's got them both down. And he just has to decide who to pin. And he chooses Fletcher. Pins Kyle Fletcher. At least I think he does, right? I have that right? I'm going by memory here. But it was kind of cool to see Takeshita down from the brainbuster, Fletcher down from the Rainmaker, and Okada looking down, be like, which one should I pin? Which one of these guys should I lay on top of? And he pins Fletcher, wins the match, and wins the international title in a surprise. I thought it would be Takeshita here. And after the match, Don Callis gets in the ring, and he makes sure that these guys cooperate, and he makes Fletcher give Okada the belt. He doesn't want to. He kind of just hands it to him like that, very reluctantly. But Kazuchika Okada is once again international champion because he has held this belt before. This is another belt that kind of confuses me because we have changed the name of it a couple times. What was it first? Or was it something? Oh, no, I'm sorry. It was international. Then it got merged. It got unified and then ununified. It's a big complaint I have in AEW. It's bad enough they have 48 title belts, but a few of the lineages are confusing as all fuck. And that title is one of them. I swear it was called two things. It wasn't called what? Help me out. Let me look in the chat. It was international. Was it? It wasn't intercontinental. It was international. But it was something else first. I forgot what the fuck it was. Hasn't it had two names? Anyway, doesn't matter. It's called the international title now. And Okada is the current holder. We'll see how all this shakes out on Wednesday on Dynamite, because you know we're going to have some Callis family segments there. You know Okada is going to be rubbing this belt into Kyle Fletcher's face. And, you know, maybe this is Fletcher's exit from the Callis family. I don't really know. Phoenix Reborn. Nope. Nigel deserves the cup. Well, he didn't get it. He's 50, man. What do you mean he deserves the cup? Well, he didn't get the cup. He lost. I mean, I'm fine with Nigel winning the cup. I just don't think Nigel should have beat Moxley. If this is some random-ass tournament, you know, and it was fucking Nigel and, you know, fucking Wheeler Yuta in the finals, fine, put it on Nigel. What do I care? But Moxley should not be losing to Nigel McGuinness. He just shouldn't. He just shouldn't. Oh, that's right. He became the unified title. Thank you. International title. Then it was unified with the Continental, and it became the unified title. Then Okada lost the Continental, and the belts got separated again. It's back to being the international title. That's what I'm talking about. Stop with that shit. It's too confusing. Stop with this unifying and ununifying. WWE does this shit too. They'll unify titles and then ununify titles. I swear they make it 100 times more difficult than it needs to be. It just does not need to be this difficult at all. But they make it that way. But hey, Okada is once again a champion, and why the hell am I going to complain about that? If Okada is a major champion in a major promotion, Greg's majorly happy. So we're cool with that. Up next was our Casino Gauntlet. I got to say, I didn't love this match, but I did like the winner. I went rogue, went out on a limb, predicted Ilya Dragunov to show up in this match and win the whole thing. Kind of had a feeling that I wasn't going to be right about that. The only other person on my radar really was MJF, and now I feel guilty for not considering Andrade because I should have considered him. No, let me answer this text. Anyway, but Andrade winning is something that should have been on my radar all along because I didn't think that the winner of this was going to necessarily be like a Moxley type of opponent. I thought it was going to be an opponent for Will Ospreay to beat. So Moxley winning the gauntlet or MJF winning the gauntlet, I didn't really think was time. I don't think you want to do Ospreay and MJF at All Out or even before then because MJF's not going to win the title. You know, Ospreay's going to go on a run here for a little. I think you need to save MJF and Ospreay for a bigger pay-per-view main event down the road. This is going to be the first one. That's why I thought Dragunov would be perfect to come out and win, and you could put Ospreay and Dragunov in the main event of Dynamite in a couple of weeks or something, have them tear the fucking house down, and then boom, you've got Dragunov established and on your roster now. But other than that, you got Speedball and your Ciampas and your Jerichos and your Commanders and whatnot. I didn't see any of these people winning this match, so I was happy with the way it went down. Of course, it did start with Andrade and MJF. They were numbers 1 and 2 here. They both made their entrance, and Andrade had a great one with the women behind him and whatnot. And they start wrestling their match in the middle. We got a little bit of one-on-one here between these two guys. I specifically enjoyed the face fucking that Andrade did to MJF. That was more fun family entertainment there that I really, really enjoyed. We had Nick Wayne and Speedball Mike Bailey. They were out next, followed by Tommaso Ciampa. And this is, like I said earlier, in this match, they were random intervals. So people were coming down sometimes couple minutes apart, sometimes one after the other. When Ciampa was making his entrance, Jericho made his entrance right behind him, and so the two of them kind of battled in the entranceway a little bit there. Jericho took out Ciampa before heading to the ring, and as Jericho is now in the match, mixing it up, he comes face to face with MJF, so it was cool to see those two kind of back sharing screen time together again. And as they are mixing it up, out of nowhere, Mark Davis arrives. So Davis is the next entrant, and he just kind of shows up in the ring. And number 8 was the best. Number 8 was hilarious. Number 8 is Commander. But as Commander is coming out, Justin Roberts says, coming out at number 8, Mystico. But it wasn't Mystico, it was Commander, and oh my God, did the fans let Justin Roberts have it. They were laughing, they were chanting Mystico at Commander, they were chanting "you fucked up." It was all very, very fun, and Commander was in the ring and did his thing, did his big tightrope walk and dive out onto everybody on the outside of the ring. And then after that, Mystico comes out at number 9, and Justin Roberts goes, coming out at number 9, you guessed it, Mystico. So he corrected himself, I think, on both. Did he correct himself on both? No, he didn't. Just on when Mystico came out, I believe, right? I feel like Justin Roberts, I forgot what the sequence was, but it was an epic botch, and it was a really, really great recovery to where I don't think any fans are really going to hold anything against Justin Roberts there, because that was hilarious. And then the next entrant out was Mystico. He comes out to a song, and everybody's singing, and he was attacked from behind by Daniel Garcia, who was out at number 10. Jungle Jack Perry was out at number 11. I believe he was the last guy down there, because by that point, you've got MJF in the ring with Nick Wayne, and Wayne winds up trusting MJF like an idiot. MJF then blasts Nick Wayne right in his little 20-year-old testicles, and he's got his whole life ahead of him to procreate and stuff, and you're already taking away his ability to have children. And he gets kicked right in his little penis, and then MJF hits him with the Heat Seeker. And then Andrade comes in from behind and basically kind of Judas effect or hidden blades Max right out of the way and pins Nick Wayne for the win. So Andrade, or Andrew El Idolo, wins the Casino Gauntlet, earning himself now a World Championship match against Will Ospreay on a date and location of his choosing, provided that it's at least a week ahead of time. So very happy with that outcome there. Big win for Andrade, and I should have given him some more thought and some more credit as an actual winner for this, because I think the most common phrase I saw on social media or in the chat or people giving their predictions is that MJF and Andrade are going to cancel each other out. I think that would have made sense for MJF not to win, but I just didn't think enough about Andrade, and I should have. I should have given him some thought, and if I would have, I think I would have predicted him. But Andrade got the win. We will see now, Andrade and Will Ospreay. That one's going to be fun. I don't need that to be at All Out. That can totally be on TV. We got a month until All Out. All Out is the 26th of September. So sure, you could book it for that, sure. But I'd probably get it done on TV. I'd probably do Andrade and Will Ospreay on television. We shall see. We'll probably hear more about that on Wednesday night's Dynamite. All right, after that was time for the AEW Tag Team titles on the line. The Young Bucks challenging AEW Tag Team Champions Cope and Cage. We had a nice special entrance there for the Young Bucks. Very good stuff. All of their family was at ringside. And if you guys, for those of you who were here on Thursday for the predictions, I struggled with this match and I changed my pick. Halfway through, I had picked originally the Young Bucks to win. But then as I thought it through a little bit more, I think I was citing the possibility of like a ladder match at All Out, or at least the two teams running it back at All Out. And if that is what they were going to do, then I think Cope and Cage should retain. Eventually they should drop the belts maybe to the Bucks or to somebody, as we see quite the tag team division there. But I changed my pick on Thursday to Cope and Cage retaining. But then when the Bucks came out with their special entrance and hugged all of their family members, all the Jacksons are out there in the front row, I'm like, oh, I don't feel so good about my pick anymore. But my pick did turn out to be correct. So the match in the ring, this was a dream match, dream match type of scenario here. Young Bucks, Cope and Cage. Probably a huge trip for the Bucks to be facing Cope and Christian, and it's probably pretty awesome for Tony Khan to be able to have this match, in his record books as well. I like the story they were telling with Nick Jackson and his injured leg, or his injured ankle that I think happened on the ring post. He went to kick the ring post and he just blasted it with the bottom portion of his leg. And as we know in AEW, they don't have them round ass ring posts. They got those square honking ring posts there that are very, very dangerous. And he messed his leg up on that. So later on, he goes for the TK driver, but completely slips and falls off the ropes. And had a whole bunch of stuff here. After Nick slipped off the rope during the TK driver, Christian nails Matt Jackson with the low blow, and then Edge and Christian hit him with the shatter machine. So they're busting out some of their rivals' moves here for a really, really great near fall. We then get a spear to Nick Jackson, who fell off the ropes once going for the TK driver, going for it again. This time, he gets speared by Copeland as he's coming down, while Christian hits the kill switch in the ring on Matt Jackson, followed by a spear to Matt for another very, very close near fall. So the story they've been telling here, or the dynamic between Cope and Christian is still not changed. He's still evil Christian. He's just back, in good with his buddy, Edge or Copeland. But Copeland is still trying hard to be the babyface. So Christian has his little arm cast thing loaded with a wrench. Pulls out a wrench, hides it from the referee, winds up blasting Matt Jackson in the face with it, allowing Copeland to then hit him with the spear and get the win. So I think the story here is maybe Copeland didn't notice that Christian cheated to get this win done, or get this win in the books for them. I'm not sure, but Cope and Christian retain the titles here. Right after the match, the Motor City Machine Guns come out. I was wondering about them. We even brought them up in the predictions on Thursday, if we would possibly see them on this show or not. And they did come out here I thought they were going to protest the finish of the match, but they just came out to kind of get in the ring and confront the two teams, and they are immediately followed by FTR. We knew FTR could possibly show up on this show as well, as they were in town winning Rev Pro tag titles and whatnot, so I had a feeling we could see them here. So they come out, and once they're out here, then the New Level come out, because I was thinking originally, before Swerve confronted Hangman and Brodito on Dynamite, that when New Day come in, they're going to debut in a situation like this. Come face-to-face with the Bucks, come face-to-face with Cope and Cage, come face-to-face with, FTR or even Motor City Machine Guns, who was sharing a completely different locker room with them just 3 or 4 months ago. So I thought it would be in a situation like this, but they had already debuted on the show and won championships. So out come the New Level with their newly won trios titles. And I think this was Tony Khan's way of just flexing. Like, look at that. Look at the legacies of those fucking teams. You've got the Young Bucks and the New Day and FTR and fucking Edge and Christian in the same place, not to mention Motor City Machine Guns. all in the same ring. That's some insane Hall of Fame caliber shit you got going on right there. Especially, with some of your big names. I mean, FTR, Cope and Cage, and New Day, and Bucks, Jesus Christ. And Motor City Machine Guns have done a lot. All of these teams, except for the Young Bucks, have held WWE Tag Team Gold before. And it's quite the division, quite a core division there of those 5 teams. Really fun stuff to see that at the end. Basically, everybody just facing off with each other. And is this going to result in some epic Hall of Fame multi-team ladder match at All Out? I brought up the ladder match a few times recently, but, we got Cope and Christian, who Christian next month turns 84. Copeland is 86. So they're both in their mid-80s. And I don't think they need to be climbing up any ladders at their age, being men of their age, so to speak. But they also made the ladder match famous. You got all these other great teams. Maybe you can do a big multi-team tag team title ladder match war between, it's like a Hall of Fame invitational fucking ladder match. Tony Khan will come up with some crazy ass name to give a match like that. Or you could just see the Bucks and Cope and Cage run it back, if the Bucks protest to how they won that, especially if Copeland, because I don't feel like he knew that Christian used the wrench. So if Copeland discovers this, he'll say, look, dude, we owe these guys a rematch. You cheated, you bitch. So, and then maybe the Bucks are like, we don't want to worry about Christian cheating this time, so how about we hang the belts up and we have a ladder match? I feel like that's what we're probably going to see there, most likely. But who knows? All we know is AEW's got a stacked-ass tag team division right now. My Lord. Holy shit, this next match was a lot. I got this prediction wrong. I predicted Kevin Knight to retain the title here. I don't know why. He literally blowed up Darby Allin a couple of weeks ago on Dynamite. Of course Darby's going to win. But going into a match like this, it's Darby Allin versus Kevin Knight for the TNT Championship, and it's Falls Count Anywhere. So going into a Falls Count Anywhere match on a show as big as All In, all I care about is Darby Allin still breathing air at the end of the match, meaning he is still alive. He did not die. And he came damn close again to dying, as usual in his matches. My God. This one was nuts. This one was all over the place. Darby Allin comes in hot, attacking Kevin Knight, makes his entrance first. Darby Allin comes in and attacks him right off the bat. And very early on in the match, a weird spot happened. And I haven't even gone back and watched this a second time. I just noticed it when it happened, and I don't feel like I need to watch it again. But maybe I need to go back and look at this to be sure. If any of you saw what I saw, then let me know here in the chat. Kevin Knight hits Darby Allin with the belt. Darby still has his jacket on. Hits him in the back of the head with the belt. Darby falls face first on the mat, and the jacket falls over his head. And there's a little bit of an opening where you can see in there, and he's going like this to his head. And I swear to God, he's blading the back of his head, because when he emerges, he's got blood. You hear Danielson say, oh, Knight's got some blood on his arm. The blood on his arm came from the back of Darby Allin's head. So I think Darby bladed the back of his head. Have we seen that before? Have we seen a blade job to the back of the head? I can't recall a single one. Some guys bleed from the back of the head, but it's usually hard way. I don't recall anybody being able to notice a wrestler actually gigging themselves in the back of the head. But that's what Darby apparently did, unless I had that completely misread or didn't see that correctly. But go back and watch the replay. I'm pretty sure that's what he did there. So he bladed in the back of his own damn head. And now we are just getting into all of the spots. So, Kevin Knight does the top rope springboard all the way to Darby Allin, who's on the announce table. And by the way, the ringside area for this was huge. You could have driven, Steve Austin's beer truck. You could have driven the beer truck around the ring. There was enough room out there for 2 rings. You could have done War Games or Blood and Guts. You had enough room out there for 2 rings, but there was only one, and a huge gap between the ring and the guardrails and the announce table and everything. Just a lot of room to play out there. So he made the big jump on that those hard ass announce tables they have. And then Darby Allin starts collecting chairs in the ring. So he's got a bunch of chairs set up in the ring. And that's when Kevin Knight gets some Don Callis family help from Jake Doyle and Brian Cage, who then hit the ring and they wind up tying Darby's hands behind his back. And wait, I guess before the hand tying spot, they had the chairs kind of set up upright in the ring, and Cage throws Darby Allin like back first onto the backs of the chairs. So another just sick ass chair bump. After that is when they tie Darby's hands behind his back and they just start throwing him around. We get Brian Cage hitting like a superplex off of the ropes onto Darby, who's got his hands behind his back. Is way different than Cassidy with his hands in his pockets. Like, his hands are behind his back and he's just taking bumps on them. Just looked weird. So he's out there, no hands, fighting with no hands. And that's when Steve Borden shows up. So Steve Borden, the son of Sting, comes out. We had a feeling we might see him. He's been a part of this. He was even offered a spot in the Callis family, in which he denied. And we do know that he signed with AEW. He has been a little bit a part of this story, and we know Darby's history with Sting. So Borden comes out there to try to help out, but he gets thrown through a table for his efforts. So Darby is still fighting. He takes that crazy superplex, which is just nuts. And then Cage sets up Darby for Kevin Knight to hit the coast to coast. Let me just finish this. Sorry about that. Just had to answer that or respond to that text. Oh, damn it. Cool. So Cage, after suplexing Darby with his hands behind his back, they set him up in the corner. Kevin Knight's going to come off with a big coast to coast. And that's when the lights go out. And it's Sting. So we had a feeling we might see Sting. We saw him last year. He's got there with the gray hair, plus his son is already in the ring, and the son looks a lot like him. It's just crazy facially. Maybe they don't have quite the same body, but his face looks exactly like his dad. So Sting comes out with a baseball bat in hand. He takes out Cage and Doyle. He gets in the ring and hits Kevin Knight with a scorpion death drop with it, which was awesome. And then they've got a ladder in the ring. And we've got father and son climbing up to the ladder together. And I'm like, what the fuck are they going to do? Because when Sting was still wrestling, he was doing those dives and stuff. And a couple of them really dangerous. He busted up his mouth on that one and just doing crazy shit. So now that he's out of the ring, I think a lot of us breathed like a sigh of relief that we don't have to watch Sting perform these moves anymore, because they're very, very dangerous. So watching him go up to that ladder freaked me out. But him and his son have a little conversation. Sting agrees to leave. He goes and starts walking down the ladder and leaves his son up there by himself to do a big dive off the ladder, over the top rope onto, I believe, Cage and Doyle on the outside of the ring. So then Darby Allin and Kevin Knight now are battling up the stage. And this is where the finish comes. Fucking crazy. By the way, great looking set for All In. You can kind of see it a little bit behind Darby here. See all these trusses they have set up? Really good looking set here at All In. So now that they're up at the top of the ramp, naturally Darby's starting to look at these things, and he goes climbing. So he goes climbing. He's taken out Kevin Knight. He's laying on the stage there. And Darby starts climbing awfully high. Very, very high up the truss. And he comes off just with a coffin drop. And I was at SummerSlam 2000 when Shane McMahon did the thing with Steve Blackman. It was a lot like that because Shane McMahon essentially executed a coffin drop. And Darby wasn't up quite that high, but pretty fucking close. Watching his little skinny body fall that far back first onto what definitely was a crash pad, but you didn't even see Kevin Knight. You didn't see where Darby landed. And I didn't even see how they got Kevin Knight out of there and on the stretcher. It's almost like he fell through the stage and they got him from underneath and put him on the stretcher, because Darby kind of emerges from the crash pad, and then he goes over to the edge of the stage, down on the floor. They already have Kevin Knight strapped up to a gurney. I'm like, what the fuck did I miss? How did he even get on that stretcher? So I think the Darby crashed through a hole in the stage, and maybe they got him out underneath there. Is that what happened? Or did I just miss a block of 5 minutes there or something that I missed or didn't see? So anyway, they're stretching out Kevin Knight, and Darby sees this from the stage, and then he does a second coffin drop off the stage onto Kevin Knight, who's strapped to the stretcher, and pins him on the floor there to win the TNT Championship. So he regains the TNT title now. How many runs for Darby is this with the TNT? Is this 3 or is this just his second? I feel like it might be his third. I kind of lost track. I had predicted Kevin Knight, kind of wanted to see Kevin Knight retain the title, but based on what's been going on between these two, the feud, everything's pointing to Darby getting his revenge here. So I had these ones a little bit wrong. I thought that the international title would leave the Callis family and the TNT title would stay put. And I had that reversed. Darby Allin, once again, TNT champion. He does survive Danielson, by the way. By the way, commentary team was Bryan Danielson, Excalibur, and Tony Schiavone. And Danielson did mention, how worried he is for Darby in these matches and in his life, because every one of these, he is really, really pushing the envelope. But this was pretty fun, maybe more fun than I was expecting it to. I probably would put this match down in the column of ones that exceeded my expectations. I don't know why. I just wasn't super excited for it. I love Kevin Knight. We all know what Darby can do. Just got a follow from Kevin Knight a couple of weeks ago, by the way. And really like him, and I've always appreciated Darby. And his matches are always unique and fun and scary, and they're a roller coaster ride of hell a lot. But for some reason, this one, I just like in the grand scheme of the card, it wasn't really on my radar, and I think it exceeded my expectations. So I would say that maybe, and when I say this, I don't mean it's bad. I was going to say Okada and Fletcher and Takeshita didn't meet my expectations, but that was because my expectations were super, super high. It was still an awesome match. This one did exceed. Like, I just kind of had this medium in my head. I wasn't sure how much I really cared about it. But the match was phenomenal. Great to see Steve Borden. Great to see Sting. When you can always, you always have to have that in the back of your mind. And even more so now with Steve Borden being a part of the company. But even with Sting being retired, anytime Darby has some major, major big pay-per-view match, especially for a championship, especially in a stadium, you at least got to, in the back of your mind, have to have Sting as someone who could come out. And that could happen forever. So it was great to see Sting, great to see everybody here. It was awesome. And Darby Allin, once again, wins the TNT Championship. And hopefully this does not derail Kevin Knight. This doesn't turn him into, a Daniel Garcia or somebody else that previously held that belt. Once they don't anymore, they're kind of forgotten. Let's hope that Kevin Knight, that the same does not happen to the Jet, because he's too awesome. All right, then it was time for Willow Nightingale defending her AEW Women's Championship against Mercedes Moné. Of course, Willow has the hand injury now, which did affect a little bit of the creative here. Not sure if it affected the outcome of this match or not, but it may have. We don't really know. I'm curious if Tony Khan changed the outcome of this match due to Willow's injury, because there was a lot of people believing that Willow should not be a transitional champion, because if she loses here to Mercedes, that's how it's going to come off. She's going to feel like a transitional champion. The hand injury now at least takes that away, because now you don't know. She may have been scheduled to win the title, but then, if she's got to take time off to rehab this hand, then Tony's got to take it off of her. But based on how Willow worked in this match, the hand didn't really slow her down at all. I mean, she still was able to work just fine with that broken hand, being slightly limited. Of course, Mercedes targeting it a bunch. But in terms of Willow's work in the ring, the hand did not seem to slow her down at all. These two women had a fucking phenomenal match. Just an excellent excellent World Championship match here. Loved everything about this. Like I said, Nigel McGuinness made his way out here for the last 2 matches. He was in a wheelchair to call this one. Really, really loved Willow's entrance, really good. She was narrating it, kind of the storybook thing there. Really liked all of that. Of course, Mercedes Moné came out looking like $1 million. And as the match got going very, very early on, and I didn't catch where it happened. I tried to rewind a little bit during the match to see, and I still couldn't see it. So let me know if you guys know where the spot happened with Mercedes' nose. She got busted open on her nose, might have had a broken nose, and a lot of blood on her face very, very early on, and I couldn't tell where it happened. And she did a dive on the outside of the ring, but it looked like the blood was already there by that point, so she might have just caught a potato or something like that from Willow. I did not see exactly where that took place, but I thought it added a lot to the match. You already have the storied rivalry between these two women. You have this injury now to Willow Nightingale. This is Mercedes' 3rd opportunity at the title. She's failed the last 2. So much is riding on this. All in, stadium show, semi-main event. Huge stage here. And you've got someone with a broken hand that might be limited. You wouldn't know it. This match was unbelievably great. So much fucking fun. Enjoyed it immensely. The bloody nose, the possible broken nose on Mercedes did not slow her down at all. The broken hand on Willow did not slow her down at all. How Willow is able to execute a second rope Spanish fucking fly to Mercedes, or anyone for that matter, is beyond me, especially with a broken hand. Willow, being able to do a moonsault like that while holding another person from the second rope, it just feels to me like it defies the laws of physics, and it's just really, really impressive. I wrote down a couple of spots here. Really wonky moonsault by Willow shortly after the Spanish fly, where she comes down, damn near has a little wardrobe malfunction too. She kind of has to pull her shit up, but she comes down on Mercedes' back. Like, it looked like Mercedes tried to maybe roll out of the way, but Willow still hit the moonsault, but right on the back of Mercedes. And this was a recovery because Willow, going up there originally to attempt the moonsault, she slipped on the ropes. And it was perfect because you could kind of like blame the hand. Earlier when Nick Jackson slipped off the ropes, he slipped on purpose to sell the leg. I think Willow did not slip on purpose. That was an accidental slip, but you can kind of blame the hand. Hey, I got a broken hand, lost my footing or whatever. So she then went up to redo the spot, and when she did, she came down wonky on that moonsault. Looked like both women were fine, but looked pretty brutal. This whole damn fucking match was brutal. Now, Willow, I loved the spot where she goes face first into the exposed buckle, because earlier on she's got, was it Alabama Slam? She's got Mercedes in something, and she's got Mercedes up. Mercedes reaches over and pulls off the turnbuckle, and then Willow throws her, and the turnbuckle pad goes flying. So now you've got an exposed buckle there all throughout the match. And I guess Mercedes has got Willow, she basically shoves her face first into, using her back to kind of shove her face first into the exposed buckle, and then she lifts her up in that moneymaker finish, that finish that I don't really love, but she hit it pretty good on Willow there for a really, really close near fall. I actually thought that would probably be the finish normally in a match like that. That would set up a finish pretty good. Face first into an exposed steel buckle, then right into your finisher should be the finish, but it wasn't. Very close near fall. Willow kicks out. The fans, I felt like, were 90% behind her. They really were. After that, Willow pounces Mercedes right into Aubrey Edwards. So we get a ref bump. So Aubrey is now down. Mercedes then takes the cast off of Willow, exposing her hand, goes to get the belt to hit Willow, but Willow then drop toe holds Mercedes into the steps, which also looked pretty brutal. We're then back in the ring. Willow hits a power bomb to Mercedes, and Aubrey is really slow on the count to get there because she's still selling the bumps. So Willow basically had Mercedes beat, but by the time Aubrey Edwards gets over there, Mercedes is able to kick out. So in the end, you've got Mercedes putting on the statement onto Willow, or the bank statement, whatever that crossfaces thing that she has. Willow, much like Nigel McGuinness, is very, very close to the ropes. She's inching over there, and I think that Aubrey made a little bit of a boo-boo here. So Willow is in the statement. She's lifting her hand up and putting it on the mat. It's not really a tap out. She's lifting to fight and then putting her hand back down. She's not like tapping. And she lifts her hand up like one more time, and that's when Mercedes like brings her foot over and starts to stomp the hand of Willow. But before Mercedes can even stomp the hand for the first time, Aubrey is up calling for the bell. Like, Willow submits. So I don't know if she thought that last like tap was a tap out or whatever, but I feel like Aubrey called for the bell just a wee bit early there. I think that was you were supposed to let that breathe another 10 seconds to have Mercedes just like really, really kick the hand. And I think that was probably what the spot was supposed to be, to see Mercedes really going to town on that hand and Willow maybe screaming and having no choice but to submit. And it still was good. After it was over, Mercedes was holding on to the statement a little longer. She didn't jump up and immediately celebrate. And I just worry that after a match this good, this brutal, that the finish might have fallen a little bit short due to the mistake by Aubrey. If I have it pegged right, I just feel like she called for the bell too early, and it was supposed to drag on just a few more seconds longer than it did. So it's sad, when you see a really, really good match like that and then the finish doesn't stick the way you want it to. But the finish wasn't bad or anything like that. It was still fine. It's just I don't know if that was the intended finish. Felt like the bell rang a few seconds too early on that one. Might have just been a miscommunication. But the match itself was great. Mercedes had the big celebration. She wins the big one. And like I said, I'm curious how much the hand injury played a role in Tony Khan's decision on who to put over here. I don't know if it changed or if Mercedes was the intended winner all along or what. But she has now officially won the big one, and we're very happy for Mercedes. Disappointed for Willow. Hopefully she can bounce back. Hopefully the injured hand doesn't keep her out of the ring or out of action for very long. Obviously, if she has to, she can work through it. But now she's not a champion anymore. Now it's Mercedes. And you would assume if you're going to put the belt on someone like Mercedes, it's not like she's going to turn around and drop this thing next month. She's probably going to have a pretty healthy run. So as we stand right now, I would really like to see maybe Willow be the one to win it back from her when the time comes down the road. But until then, Mercedes has got to go on a run here of Wrestle Dream and Full Gear and World's End retaining that title, I think. So she might get a rematch with Willow where she screws her over again or something, but I think she's got to string up some world title successful defenses here before they start thinking about having her drop this thing. But it's a shame that Willow's run was so quick like that. But I think the hand injury is going to protect Willow a little bit from being viewed as a transitional champion by everybody. I mean, some people are still going to view her as that. I wanted more for her here, but, at some point Mercedes was going to have to win that title. She's been there, 3 years almost now? So I guess it was probably time. And it was a hell of a match. And Mercedes picked up the AEW Women's Championship, and it would be really great if she was champion when Bayley got there. I still do not believe, well, I shouldn't say believe because it's not a matter of belief. I just think that believing that Bayley's name being mentioned on WWE TV means she's re-signed is incredibly simple-minded. It might be true. It's a really insane assumption to make, I think. And now with Mercedes being champ, she's texting, Bayley, you better get over here, girl. I'm going to hold on to this belt until you get here. There, she's the go-between. Bayley probably already knows what she can get paid from Tony Khan and all that stuff. So maybe if she knows all that and she's decided WWE is where she's going to stay, but if Mercedes is now champion, I think it would be cool if she was champ until Bayley, if she makes the jump, whenever her contract is up, we still don't know when, if that does happen, it would be cool if Mercedes was champ when Bayley got there. We will see. Congrats to Mercedes Money for finally winning the big one in AEW. And Willow Nightingale, we love you. We know you'll be back better than ever. And there is no way in hell that title run is going to be the only world championship run Willow Nightingale will have in that company. She will have more, multiple more. And the next one will definitely be longer. Then it's time, of course, for the main event. We talked a lot about this here in the opening of the show. It was Kenny Omega defending the AEW World Championship against Will Ospreay in one of the greatest pay-per-view main events I've ever seen. The problem with saying that is that over the past 7 years, we've said that a lot when it comes to AEW. We're hit with matches like this so routinely that it's starting to be difficult to decipher them and to even like tell them apart. You know, this one was but my point is this is going to be one that's going to be pretty easy to tell apart. We're always going to remember this one. This was so good. And like I said, you know, with the match, you get these crazy spots, you get these crazy kickouts. And yes, Kenny Omega did his kick out at one. Actually, he did it twice, but it didn't borderline in the extra insane. You know, sometimes in matches, to me, they never bother me, so I never care either way. But every now and then in matches, sometimes you'll just get one or two too many kickouts for fans, you know, to where I think you're really testing their patience with that shit. And I don't think this match really did that. You know, they didn't hit me with I didn't feel like the match was over 6 times and then we had a near fall. We had some crazy near falls. We had one that might be one of the best ones I've ever seen that happened just, you know, less than 2 weeks from another great one in WWE when Punk kicked out of the stunner. I thought that was those two that we're going to talk about here were really, really good. But the match itself in the ring was everything I wanted the story to be. Everything that I wanted Kenny to do to Omega or to Ospreay, the story that I wanted Ospreay to tell with his journey to this championship and everything with, you know, Kenny and his family and his wife and his mom. And like I said, I think he had one of the coolest entrances that I can ever see. It's not like it was super elaborate. It was just emotional, you know? And like I said earlier, when Ospreay is making his way to the ring, he's in the back and he passes, you know, all of his rivals. He sees Ricochet first and Ricochet gives him a little nod. He sees Swerve. Swerve gives him a little nod. He winds up passing Fletcher and Mark Davis, his former boys. And then he passes Callum and the United Empire there. And he's going to have cornermen, you know, out there later with him as well. And finally coming across his wife, Alex Windsor, who gives him a big kiss and wishes him luck. And then the last person he comes into contact with before going out to the ring is Jon Moxley, who's got the flag. He hands it to him, and, you know, he basically just got a big pat on the butt and a big attaboy from all of his peers as he headed out there. And we get this wonderful video package that was set to Baba O'Reilly by The Who with his mom, who we just got to know last Wednesday. They must have taped that shit back at Christmas because Will's in a big coat and she's got a reindeer sweater on, so it must have been something taped last year. But we get to see his mom and how much she loves him and how cool she is and what a good promo she is. And they got her to voice the video package. She narrated her own son's video package set to the music of a famous classic British rock band. Boyhood dream shit right there. My God, so cool. So seeing the video package, watching his walk to the ring, and then, of course, his entrance with the fans going nuts for his theme. I loved the way he looked. He looked like he had it in his face. He looked good. He looked like he did some push-ups backstage. He had a tan, loved his hair, looked great with the jacket. And it was that whole thing, even the kiss with Alex Windsor, I was like, it's his night. It's his night. It's Will Ospreay's night. There's no way, you know, that it's going to go any other way than him winning the championship here, because that really has been on all of our radars for the past year. So the entrances were great. Ospreay's specifically, of course, Kenny also has an awesome one. And the world champion came out there ready to play. So Kenny had the Bucks and Cutler in his corner. Ospreay had United Empire in his. And very early on, Will Ospreay gets busted open, and so does Kenny. So the blood on both of them were pretty gnarly. Ospreay gets it pretty bad, but Kenny's, he winds up, I'm trying to see if it's later. Do I have it later? It's right here. So Kenny's blood, I believe, comes from a hidden blade, and his is right over his eye, and it looks gnarly. Like, you can almost see the gash. I'm pretty sure it was from a hidden blade from Ospreay, I think. But Kenny's blood actually looked worse because it looked more hard way than Will Ospreay's. I got to put I guess this would have been the big near fall spot. No, it's coming up here. But during this match, we had also what I think had to have been the most insane punt kick that I've ever seen. Did y'all see that? It was Will Ospreay got a run. Like, Orton wishes he could, and Orton's looks pretty good a lot. Like, you have to be careful not to actually kill somebody. So the fact that Orton can deliver these punt kicks without, like, seriously injuring people, I've always been pretty impressed with. I've never seen a punt like this before, where Ospreay, that shit would have been 50 yards. Like, he literally backed up and ran and then kicked. And of course it was complete with the knee slap and whatnot, but he connected with Kenny's head in one of the sickest kicks to the head I have ever seen. I mean, Ospreay is so good at making his shit look real. Those fucking hidden blades are so sick in his kicks and his knee strikes, and Kenny is like that too. My God, the fucking V-triggers that Ospreay was swallowing was fucking ridiculous. So the punt kick to Kenny, followed by the hidden blade, was a ridiculous near fall. And then we get my favorite of the match. It was basically a knee strike counter to the Os cutter. So Ospreay's going up for the cutter. Kenny catches him with a sick-ass knee strike, picks him up in the one-winged angel, and he hits a near fall here on Will Ospreay that, like I said, rivals the Punk and Owens one. I think it was even better. And I put over Punk kicking out at the very, 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 very last minute on that stunner in the match with Owens, and how impressed I was with that near fall. This one was actually better. I didn't even think that was possible. But to see Ospreay kick out of that one-winged angel was my favorite kick out of the match. And we had a bunch of them here, including some kickouts at one, which we'll get to in a minute. So we get, after this was probably my favorite V-trigger of the night. I think Will ate no less than 3 of these things, but he's backed up in the ropes now, kind of leaning up against the ropes. Kenny comes in with a running start and just nails him just directly in the face with a running V-trigger, then picks him up into a one-winged angel, which Ospreay counters into the Tiger Driver, and immediately gets up and brings that, or I guess after the Tiger Driver, he lifts up Kenny and hits Kenny with a one-winged angel of his own move, and Kenny kicks out at 1. So then Will comes in and nails Kenny with the hidden blade, and then hits him with the Stormbreaker, and the motherfucker kicks out at 1 again. That was so great. Some fans don't like one kickouts at 1. I do. I do. I don't want to see them overdone. I prefer it when only Kenny does it. I don't want these things to become as common as super kicks or anything, but kickouts at 1, especially when Kenny Omega does it, are fun. I fucking love it. And kicking out of his own move, followed by 2 of Will Ospreay's signatures, maybe was a little much, but I didn't care. I'm all about the excitement. In the end, it was one final, very, very devastating hidden blade to Kenny Omega that takes him out for the win, and Will Ospreay finally wins the AEW World Championship. Really cool moment. It's actually kind of in the shot here that you're looking at when the referee goes to get, who was it? His head's cut off. Is it Paul Turner or Bryce? Goes out to get the belt, and he brings it to give to Will Ospreay, who's on his knees here. And as he's bringing it over, you see Kenny's hands. Kenny is like laying on his back, and he sees the belt like walking across his head, and he's reaching for it. He's like reaching for the belt, like completely out of it. But he's just like, just even until the end, even after the match, he's still fighting. Like, no. Just a small little detail there that I really thought was great. But the show also, Tony Khan mentioned in the media call that he had a 4-hour block for this show. And apparently people have been talking about this curfew in London. I guess maybe the arenas have curfews. You have to be done by a certain time. Well, this match was still in the thick of things, with like 3 minutes left till the top of the hour. So you knew it was going to be going over one way or the other. And I would think if you have a curfew and you have a live show and timing issues, you should be allowed some sort of a grace period, because things can happen, things can go long or whatnot. So they ended up going about 15 minutes over, which was probably exactly the overrun they were allotted. I think Tony Khan squoze every single second out of the show. So he probably had a curfew with an absolute max of 15 minutes over. And he used every single solitary second of that. And you could tell that they probably did have that hard out because Will Ospreay did not get a ton of in-ring celebration time. You'd already gotten hit with the trademark there, and they were kind of signing off shortly after the 3 count. So there was no like locker room coming out to celebrate with him, no extra special moment there that I saw with his family, unless there was something I missed. But it was still a great match, and I'm glad that nothing with the timing seemed like it affected it. We had a good, solid, 40-minute match here. I actually want to look up let's look up these match times real quick. I do want to see what the main event went. Let's see what it says here. Match time on the main event was, I was going to say 40 minutes, 35 minutes, 34-25. That was the longest match of the night. Well, actually, the trios match was. Trios went 40 minutes. Second longest was Ospreay and Kenny, who went 34, followed by Mercedes and Willow, who went 22. Cope, Cage, and the Bucks went 20. The Gauntlet went 21. Darby and Kevin Knight went 15. Fletcher, Okada, and Takeshita went 17. Moxley and Nigel went 17. And the Birds went 11 with Divine Dominion there. So solid lengths on these matches here. Solid, really, really great main event. I definitely think we're going to be talking about this one for a while. And when it comes to your first world championship, if you're a guy that's going to be, highly decorated for the next 10 years, a big part of your company, and you're going to be winning a lot more world championships in your career, and this is your first one, I can't imagine a better scenario or place to do that than Wembley Stadium in front of your home people in a match against a guy like Kenny Omega, who has these big bouts, as we know. I couldn't imagine a better scene, or a better setting for my first ever world championship win. It's got to feel great for Will Ospreay. I'm happy for him. So I thought the pay-per-view was awesome. A lot of fun. Had to wake up a little bit early to watch it, but thoroughly entertained with this one. It was great stuff. And another great pay-per-view by All Elite Wrestling. Congratulations to Will Ospreay, Mercedes Moné, the Brawling Birds, the New Level. Congratulations to Kazuchika Okada, to Andrade for winning the Gauntlet, to Persephone winning the TBS title. Welcome back, Britt Baker. Welcome to AEW New Level. Pretty solid damn day of wrestling, if I do say so myself. So there you go. That is the end of my notes there. But we will talk to the chat a little bit, see what you guys have to say, and if there's any more news to get into. And like I said, tomorrow, we're going to be here for the Raw review, and we're going to catch up on what WWE did today for NXT and AAA. There's also some wrestling news going on. Tomorrow's Raw should be pretty big as well, so we'll be here to talk about what's going on WWE's end of things tomorrow night after Raw. Let's see where we left off with the Super Chats. Thank you for the $2, Ryan Adams. Will's entrance felt very Sami Zayn WrestleMania 40 vibes. Yeah, kind of did. Damn, 655 days without Britt Baker. That is crazy, man. That is crazy. Chris, appreciate the 5, bro. When they had all those tag teams come out to challenge Cope and Christian post-match, was there the Hurt Syndicate? Yeah, there was no Hurt Syndicate. So, well, they already got paid their 50 Gs. Maybe they don't give a shit about the AEW titles. Yeah, I don't know with the Hurt Syndicate. I feel like they've had a weird run in the company. Definitely a weird run. Oh, yeah, that's right. Justin Roberts did correct both. He corrected Commanders, and then when Mystico came out, he corrected that too. That was funny. I really enjoyed that. Oh, Excalibur called MCMG Chris Shelley and Alex Sabin? That's awesome. Darby wants to bring back the TNT Open Challenge. Okay. Good for him. What's the name of the show? NXT Havoc? That's the name of it? Oh, no, Heat Wave. Like Havoc? Halloween Havoc? Heat Wave. They're doing Heat Wave right now. Okay. No one in the scrum asked about Britt's return or why she was gone. Gilbert, yes, Elizabeth and I watched the Zach Gowen Dark Side of the Ring episode. I didn't really know. I guess I might have, but it was an interesting episode. We'll talk about that tomorrow night as well. But I did enjoy that. That was a pretty solid season finale, and I'm glad that Zach got his shit together, man. He just, same thing happened to him that happens to everybody, but he was young. He's like 20 years old, 19 years old, and, in WWE with all this money and access to pills and women and booze and all that stuff, and kind of went down the wrong... He hopped down the wrong road there for a little while. That's mean. He hopped down the wrong road for a little while there, but got his shit together. Now he's married with kids, and he's focused and happy to see that. Zach Gowen was a trip. I saw him a few times in person because I was going to shows back then when the Mr. America stuff was going on. I was at Judgment Day 03. It was Piper versus Hogan at Judgment Day that year. Zach might have been out there for that. I don't remember when he came in. Yes, I did watch the Zach Gowen episode. All right, let's see what else you guys are saying. Oh, okay. Rihanna's baby daddy is ASAP Rocky. Okay, ASAP is a whole rap group. See, you got to explain this stuff to me. I'm going to be 50 next year. I don't know about no ASAP group. I still have a Sega Genesis. You can't talk to me about anything modern. ASAP is a whole rap group with like 8 members, including the most popular member who has kids with Rihanna. Oh, Rihanna. She's fine, isn't she? I love Rihanna. ASAP Ferg. Is it ASAP Fergie? God, you guys probably think I'm like the worst. This fucking cracker. Fucking talking the shit. He doesn't know what he's talking about. But yeah, one thing I did notice, that was like the first thing I noticed when New Level came out, is I dig their song. It's got so much more just oomph to it. The New Day one like really always bugged me. I know I brought it up a few times over the years. I just didn't like the emptiness that the song had. And I didn't like those gaps to where there would be like 3-second gaps throughout the course of the song where there would just be nothing happening, just dead silence. And I'm like, you can't get behind this. You need a song with more energy and stuff. So when I put up on Twitter today that I love their new theme, y'all pointed out, hey, it's an actual real theme, like a song that Tony Khan licensed. So that is awesome. That is awesome. Oh, yeah, I forgot about their tag team partner, Swerve. I was talking about the people in the match that Kofi and Creed may have had interactions with, and all I could think of was Ricochet and Pac and Claudio, probably. But also Swerve Strickland, who they did have, I guess, a little bit of a run-in with Hit Row when he was still there. So they knew each other. Apparently Blake Monroe has called her out too. Who, Bayley? Yeah, I don't know. I mean, when it comes to Bayley, if she goes back to WWE, that means that that's where she feels like her career will be best. So if that's how she feels, who am I to say? Like, as a fan, I think it'd be fun to see her go to AEW. But shit, if that's not what's going to make her the most professionally happy, then I'm not going to complain. Do what you want, Bailey. But I swear it would be fun if you made the jump. You can always go back. Yes, Ryan Adams, 1 week from tonight, Sunday night's main event. We're going to be here for a watch-along and a review because it's my 49th birthday. We're going to do a birthday stream here 1 week from tonight, next Sunday night, because the birthday dinner I have planned with my family is another night, so I'm free. So we will do that 1 week from tonight. This is going to be kind of a busy week, actually, because we're going to be here tomorrow. Now that my schedule's softening up, I'm working on some other content. I've been posting some shorts here, there, and things like that. So you'll have some content this week for sure. And then we'll be here Saturday for the podcast as well. And we'll be here 1 week from tonight as well. So should get a lot of me this week. According to Tony Khan, AEW had 50,000 in Wembley. Okay. I'm sure a lot of perfectly normal male wrestling fans will have no problem with that at all and won't act weird about it at all on social media. They'll be totally normal. They'll just enjoy a nice, quiet night at home with the girlfriend that doesn't exist. I'm sure they'll be perfectly like, you got 50,000 in, and what about the turnstiles? Oh my God. Jesus Christ. Tony Khan, don't throw out any attendance numbers because all that's going to do is rile up all the men suffering from the male loneliness epidemic, and they're going to be coming at you. They got nothing else to do. Sunday Night Football returns 2 weeks from tonight as well, which means when we get into watch-along, our watch-alongs back, we're going to have to be doing the football season watch-alongs where I usually have the game on and the watch-along here, and we kind of watch everything. So that's coming up too. So I guess it's going to be 2 weeks from tonight is the next time we're going to be back for a classic one. So we need to come up with a classic watch-along to do. We'll talk more about that tomorrow. Happy 36th or early 36th birthday to you, David Brown. All right. So you've crossed over from mid-30s to late 30s. That's fun. Still younger than my ass. Natty just lost to Jada Parker. That's a shame. I'm just reading some more of these comments here. All right, I think I got everybody covered there. I want to thank you all for hanging out this afternoon and this evening. It's been a long one for me. I had to drag myself out of bed because I'm a night owl and I work at night. So I had a rough one at work last night and then trying to unwind and then try to get to bed in time to get up at 8 o'clock in the morning to watch this damn thing. I'm pooped. Watched it all day. Then I had to come up here and review this thing. So I'm ready to relax a little bit. But like I said, we will be here tomorrow. I will work on throwing up that Raw review link right now. Have it up in a couple hours for you. So just keep a lookout for that. And I will be catching y'all tomorrow. So if you don't mind, if you're watching this on demand, drop a comment down below on what you thought of the show. And I will be catching you guys in less than 24 hours or in about 24 hours for more. You guys take care. Have a great, great, great rest of your Sunday night. Hope you enjoyed AEW All In. I know I fucking did. And I'll be catching y'all tomorrow night for the Raw review. Have a good one, guys. Peace.